In the vastness of space, when a time came where silence prevailed, a hum spread throughout the galaxy. The human race had been defeated. The Interstellar Alliance had only seen the human race as one of the weaker links, and thus flattened it easily and with rapid speed. Galactic warships left planets under fire. Massive alien legions landed on Earth everywhere. There was a general understanding about the technological backwardness of humanity. It was not enough for the aliens to consider humans an inferior species in every physical respect. Their will to resist was to be mocked too. The immense warships covering the sky of Earth were standing lined up, it seemed, to celebrate their victory. But then, Commander HFY of the Alliance had missed one thing. The humans hadn't surrendered yet. As the atmosphere of Earth gradually got back to normal, the few survivors moved into underground shelters camouflaged within the ruins. The violence of the war had barely left any corner of the planet unscathed. New York, Moscow, Tokyo, that they were all razed. The tall skyscrapers had been reduced to ashes, and the roads were lined with big craters. Yet, human beings who lived on this land were still breathing. This was where the human spirit, undefeated, would arise anew. The fire of resurrection would be lit within those dark shelters. General Marcus Donovan walked through dark tunnels of deep shelter, filled with thoughts. His heavy armor told about the tiredness of years. He felt the weight of war with every step he made, yet he never lagged. His footsteps reverberated off the cold metal walls of the shelter, carrying with them the echoes of the resistance to come. He and his group were the last rays of hope. Their resources had gone, their forces minimized, and the people had nearly completely stopped talking. But a group was still prevalent, one with the will to fight and still plotting. As Donovan turned a corner, the large doors of the command room opened. Inside, on large holographic projections, sat all the surviving leaders of the world. Once, these people had ruled every corner of Earth. Today, they were confined to this small, cramped room, mapping out the last move against alien forces millions of kilometers away. "Did we get the last signal?" Donovan calmly asked. Being cool-headed during the final stages of the war was the most priceless characteristic a leader could have. Scientist Dr. Evelyn Carter, studying the data across her computer screen, said, "Yes, we picked up an energy discharge. It's possible one of the Alliance ships is searching for something in the upper layers of the atmosphere. This may be our chance." Before him were hologram projections of the resistance leaders around the world, and Donovan proceeded with vehemence. "The enemy thinks that as far as humanity is concerned, the game is over. But this will be the biggest mistake, because everyone present today is not here to end this war, but to start it. They may have better technology, and they may have destroyed our weapons, but there is one thing they don't know. The human spirit never surrenders." His words resonated within everyone. Humanity's strongest point was in their resilience and belief. And no matter how great the losses were, they never fell. Donovan's plan was simple. They would use technology that the aliens knew nothing of. Even prior to the war, humans had been surreptitiously developing a revolutionary energy source on their planet. "Is Project Hades ready?" Donovan asked. This was a secret armament that had been developed over years of research. A weapon even the Galactic Alliance had no idea existed. A technology that could destroy a starship with one shot. Dr. Carter nodded slightly. "Yes, but we can only use it once. After that, we'll have nothing left." He knew this, and they had one shot and one shot that could alter the fate of humanity. If used in the right time and place, it could stop the entire power of the Alliance. But if they failed, the last hope of humanity would also be lost. "One shot is all we need," Donovan said, trying to sound as firm and determined as possible. Meanwhile, far out in space, Commander HFY was sitting on his ship's command bridge. His eyes watched the slowly turning blue and white silhouette of Earth. Convinced, he was that they had fully conquered the planet. Humans were on their way to extinction, like so many species before them. However, HFY always had his doubt about humans. The war wasn't simple. Humans were different from other species. Even when they had nothing, they still found a way to resist. "Are you sure, sir?" his assistant asked with a lean towards him. Can the humans finally be defeated? All these years of fighting them. HFY was silent for a moment. These humans, there's something about them. They don't give up that easily. Perhaps we should take further investigation into them. Perhaps they do have another rebellion brewing themselves. But these doubts were always shooed away, ignored by the other leaders in the galactic nobility. Humans were technologically backward and, without question, inferior to the Alliance's supremacy. But believing they won might have been their biggest mistake. Preparations for Project Hades accelerated at a frenetic rate in the secret shelter on Earth. The energy sources needed to activate the project were already at their posts. There was fear and hope in the air of the shelter. This was part of the last resistance that ever had a view of the most crucial moment in history. Standing in the room where Project Hades would be launched, Donovan looked once more at his team. This is our last chance. If we fail, humanity will be a footnote in the annals of history. But if we succeed, we will bring them to their knees and take this galaxy back. Dr. Carter went over the control panels one last time. Energy levels stable. We can fire up in a few minutes. Donovan took a deep breath. For one last moment, he thought of all the lost lives of the war. The losses were great, but they had never been in vain. Humanity would rise once again. Begin, Donovan said with determination. As the controls went online, the enormous reactors of energy underground began to shudder. It was as if the heart of the Earth was pounding. And at this moment, the greatest power to be used against the Alliance ships was about to be unleashed. The moment Project Hades launched, a tide of tension began spreading within this underground shelter. Donovan just did not take his eyes off the control screen to make sure that everything was happening as expected. On the screens were shots of the enemy spacecraft orbiting Earth, while the energy level was rising very fast. Dr. Carter's hands hovered above the panels, making sure not one mistake was made. One error would destroy this last hope. 75%. 80. 85. Carter counted, holding her breath. The energy level was attaining the critical point. If it went over this critical point, then Project Hades could be turned on. In Donovan's mind flashed the whole process that had unfolded since the first moments of the war. Maybe he stood in front of them as a calm and tough leader, but this long war brought him huge losses. The greater part of his troops was wiped out, and almost the whole of their planet was occupied by the enemy. Those losses had failed to break them, though. Never giving up was the greatest virtue of humanity. On board Alliance flagship, Shukar, Commander HFY stood staring through the large glass window of his craft down at Earth. The little blue planet's fate was hanging in the balance. Galactic Alliance forces had, with gray haste, destroyed the human race. Years of resistance seemed to mean little about the war that was largely won, but a deep sense of doubt would never have strayed HFY. But these humans were somehow different from the rest of the species which they had overcome. Technologically backward, weak, and helpless just seemed to get up again. Commander, his assistant Conair said as he read from the report in his hands, "We have found the last vestiges of the humans. Excluding small pockets on the surface, there is no longer any force with the capacity to threaten us." HFY knew the veracity of this report, but something did not sit well with him. "Show me the latest energy scans," he said quietly. In an instant, Conair opened the screen on the command table and began to analyze the energy signals emanating from Earth. After a few seconds, it lit up. "Commander, there's something strange here," Carter said. "We detected an energy signal in Earth's southern hemisphere that has been rapidly rising over the past few hours." HFY took a deep breath. What have we overlooked that was left hanging in the air? Sure as he was that all major military installations on Earth had been eliminated, this sudden energy surge was beginning to feel to him like an ambush warning. But an energy surge on this scale usually matches the power generators of a starship, said Conair, and yet it emanates from Earth. Subterranean shelter, Project Hades activation. Suddenly, an alarm blared in the control room where Donovan and Dr. Carter were. There was movement on the computer screens. Enemies intercepted the energy surge, Carter said, eyes staring at the screen. The Alliance ships are on their way towards us. A smile danced across Donovan's iron mask. Right on time, he said, calm. We're going to show them that humanity never gives up. Carter saw, on the screen, the energy levels go to 100%, her hands making the last adjustments. Activating, she shouted. The subterranean shelter started to vibrate suddenly. As Project Hades harvested its power, the whole structure seemed to shudder. Energy was being drawn from the deep reactors at the Earth's core, preparing for a shot into the depths of space. With a flash of light across the sky, the big armament system underground powered up. Project Hades had created a huge energy wave directly aimed at the flagship of the Alliance. Donovan was holding his breath in view of its results. Shukar, Alliance flagship. QRHA saw on the screen the huge energy wave that was advancing into his ships. "What is he doing?" he shouted. His assistants panicked and began the immediate analysis of the huge attack. "Raise shields," QRHA ordered. But that order was too late. The energy wave from Project Hades penetrated the shield and hit the hull of the spaceship. "Impossible," QRHA shouted. The spaceship vibrated with a powerful energy strike. In an instant, all the displays went black. Shukar shook one last time before it became an enormous ball of fire and vanished into the infinity of the cosmos. Earth, subterranean facility. As Donovan watched Shukar's destruction on his screen, he exhaled deeply. Project Hades had paid off. The Alliance's largest warship was down, courtesy of the last hope of humanity. Still, he knew this would be short-lived. He could no longer use Project Hades, and there were still other Alliance vessels out there. "This is just the beginning," Donovan said, his eyes turning from the screen. "The enemy is only now starting to grasp how far humanity will go